What's up, you guys? Coming at you with a top. I think I have 17. I want to say maybe. I don't know. I just threw them all together. But yeah, I know it's way over 10. But yeah, so yeah, this is a video response / contest entry / parentheses, quotation marks, contest entry into the Visual Maniacs giveaway. I need that $50. So slip it on over to me, buds. But yeah, so let's jump right into it. Number 20. Boom! The Hills Have Eyes. I really wished I could have put more horror films in this list, but I think that a lot of these other movies are just better in general, and I would probably would be able to watch them a lot more than a lot of these horror movies. But yeah, so The Hills Have Eyes. This is the remake. I think they did a phenomenal job with this remake. I mean, I love this movie. I've seen it a bunch of times. I mean, it's definitely. It's got like a underdog, come from behind, slasher kind of feel to it. So, if you haven't seen this movie, I suggest you definitely check it out. But it's not for the weak of heart, So if you got a weak stomach, you might want to fast forward through the rape scene. Spoiler: there's a rape scene, and it's pretty brutal, and it's pretty long. So, The Hills Have Eyes. Definitely check it out. Alright, number 19 is I actually have a trilogy. And it is boom, dog. Alright, sorry about that, you guys. It is the Toy Story Trilogy. Look at that visual effects. If you're watching this in 3D, it's coming right at you. But yeah, the Toy Story Trilogy, I got 3, 2, and 1. Honestly, I feel like each of these movies is just as good as the other one. If I really had to choose, definitely the first one is the best. But I mean, you could make a case for any of the other two being the better ones. So that's how good each of these movies are. So they're not just great kids movies, but they're great movies in general. I mean, you got Tom Hanks. Who else you got in here? I forgot. It's been a while since I've seen it. Tim Allen, Tom Hanks as Woody and Buzz Lightyear. So, yeah. Toy Story Trilogy. It's kind of weird saying the Toy Story Trilogy because usually trilogies are like much more serious movies, but yep, there it is, the Toy Story Trilogy by Pixar and Disney. Alright, next up is we have a movie from probably my favorite genre. It is Zombieland, from the horror comedy genre. So I love this movie. I think everybody is fantastic in this movie. Woody Harrelson is fantastic. Jesse Eisenberg is great. Emma Stone is great. Actually, I take that back. This little girl is just okay, I think. What's her name? Abigail Breslin. Yeah, Abigail Breslin is in this movie as well. Whoever that is. But yeah, she's okay in this movie. I know she had another movie that's coming out, or that came out. I'm not too sure, but I mean, yeah. Zombieland is a great film, and it's got one of the creepiest characters that I've ever seen, which is a zombie killer clown. I mean, that is just off the charts bonkers. So, yeah, Zombieland. Alright, next we have probably the most acclaimed movie on my list, and that is Gladiator. Alright, so I love this film. I think it's a great story. Russell Crowe is phenomenal in this. Joaquin Phoenix is also great in this. Shoot, what else? Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is also great in this. There's that whole scene where Joaquin Phoenix's character is asking, Russell Crowe's character, like, "Oh, what's your name?" Your king is asking, not your king, is asking, "What's your name?" And then he takes off his mask and he's like, "I am Maximus Aurelius Contagious," or whatever his name is. And that whole scene is just, oh crap, it's about to go down. Alright, next up is we have what I think is Will Ferrell's best comedy movie, and that is Boom, Anchorman. I guess you could give it up for Anchorman or for Step Brothers, but I edged this one out over Step Brothers just because I think, Paul Rudd and Steve Carell are crazy good in this as well. Especially Steve Carell's character, I think is just freaking ridiculous. But Will Ferrell's awesome in this, as we all know. So I mean, his style, I love his style of comedy. I mean, it just suits my palate, as they would say. You know what I mean? So yeah, Anchorman. Honestly, I don't think Anchorman 2 is going to be good at all. But I hope I'm wrong. So I mean, just from the previews, it looks pretty terrible. So, yep, Anchorman. Alright, next up is we have Jurassic Park. When this movie came out and I saw those dinosaurs, I thought they were real. I mean, that's how good I thought the CG and the animatronics were in this movie. I mean, the Velociraptors look phenomenal in this movie. I don't know if they're as smart as they say they are, opening doors and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's kind of an exaggeration. You know what I mean? So if I lose my keys and I need a locksmith, I'm going to call a Velociraptor to come and open them doors for me. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Goldblum is in this. Who else is in this? Sam Neill, Laura Dern. I mean, great in this movie. Probably the best scene is when the dude is on the toilet and he gets eaten by the T-Rex. Yeah, I'm not going to put a spoiler alert because this movie is like freaking old, and if you haven't seen it, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. Spoiler alerts only count if the movie is relatively new, I would say. So, yeah, Jurassic Park is old, so I can spoil it all I want because it's not a spoiler. You should have seen it already. But yeah, Jurassic Park. Next up is another comedy movie, and that is Superbad. I think this is the movie that put Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse on the map. Especially Christopher Mintz-Plasse. I mean, people don't even know him as Christopher Mintz-Plasse. They just know him as McLovin. He will always be McLovin. You know what I mean? But yeah, Michael Cera plays the same character in every movie, except for that new one. I know he's got a new one coming out, but I'm just rambling now. So, but yeah, I think this movie put, those guys on the map. So, not that, but it's funny. So Seth Rogen is in this. He's hilarious. I mean, this movie overall is just one of the best comedy films, I feel, to come out in recent years, if not in a long, long time. I love watching this movie. I can definitely relate to it, trying to get drunk, before you're even in college. So yeah, Superbad is super good. Alright, next up is we have another trilogy, and again, I feel like all these movies are just as good as the next one, and that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Alright, so I just recently rewatched these, and I'm being careful not to scratch my steel books, because when I ordered one from Warner Brothers, and that one was all jacked up. Like the spine was kind of coming out. I think it's this one. So I don't know if you can see it there, but yeah, the spine's kind of coming out a little. Yeah, so Fellowship of the Rings, What else we got? The Two Towers, Return of the King. Definitely a great trilogy. I just rewatched this, I think the day before, and that scene at the end where they're crowning Aragorn as king of Gondor, and then he meets the hobbits and they bow, and he's like, "My friends, you bow to no one," and then he bows, and then everybody bows, and I'm crying, a grown man crying because all of these people are bowing to these halflings, these hobbits. I loved it. Love the movie. Alright, next up is Fight Club. I love this movie. I just watched it recently for the first time, and I'm glad I did. Edward Norton is phenomenal in this. Brad Pitt is great in this as well. I think Brad Pitt in this movie is the reason why a lot of young actors look the way they do today. I mean, he put that slim, lean body on the map with this movie, I feel like. And so now, I think anybody else after that, Ryan Gosling, I'm talking to you, is just trying to be Brad Pitt in this movie. So, Fight Club. And I love the slipcover too, man. Love this slipcover. Alright, next up is we have The Departed. Alright, so I got, The Departed, I got it in this combo-de-doo-dah. So, with the Goodfellas and The Aviator. I haven't seen The Aviator yet, but The Departed, I love The Departed. For those of you who don't know, it's a remake. It's a American remake of the Chinese series Infernal Affairs. And in my opinion, I think Infernal Affairs in general, as a whole, is better than The Departed. It's just that they kind of put all of the Infernal Affair movies into the Departed film. Well, some parts, I guess you could say. Because, in the first Infernal Affair movies, spoiler alert, so if you're gonna watch it, then skip forward past this part. But yeah, the undercover cop that's actually a gangster, he lives. So basically in the Chinese version, Leonardo DiCaprio's character dies, but Matt Damon's character goes on and lives for the next 2 movies. So that's how they carry on the franchise. But yeah, The Departed, it's a great film, and I love Mark Wahlberg in this film. I love his characters where he's just freaking foul-mouthed because it's ridiculous, and it's funny, and it's good stuff. But yeah, everybody else in this is great. Leo DiCaprio is great, Matt Damon is great, Jack Nicholson is great, Mark Wahlberg obviously, so they're all great in this film. But yeah. And next up, actually, is in the same combo-de-doo-dah, is The Goodfellas. So right after The Departed is The Goodfellas. Classic gangster film. One of the best gangster films of all time. I think so. Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, all phenomenal in this movie. There are some classic lines from this movie, So definitely a freaking phenomenal pick. Great film. I love it. I can't say enough about it. Alright, next up is the last trilogy in my list. And so I think, just like the other ones, I feel like each one is just as good as the other one. Or you can make an argument that, one is better than the other one, and I can be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it is the Dark Knight trilogy. So you have Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight Rises. All phenomenal movies, great movies. Personally, if I had to choose, I would say that The Dark Knight is probably the better one of the 3. And honestly, I feel like this movie, The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, is the movie that really got, the general public to be like, oh crap, these movies are pretty damn good. I mean, and honestly, I think the whole trilogy revolutionized the way, the general public sees comic book movies. You know what I mean? Iron Man was out at the same time these movies were. That's all good, but Iron Man still has a comic book feel to it. But I feel like these movies, even though they're based off of a comic book hero, they do not have a comic book feel to them. They feel like a legit movie, and I think that's great. I think that's a great thing. You know what I mean? I think Batman is definitely the character for that, because he's dark, he's gritty, and he doesn't have any, superhuman powers. He's just a regular dude with a whole lot of money. So yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy. Alright, next up is we have one of my childhood favorites, and it is the Goonies. Love this movie. Sean Astin. He's played some really iconic roles. You know what I mean? I don't think he's done a lot of movies, but the movies that he's done, he's really played iconic roles. I mean, you got Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings. You got Rudy. He was Rudy. Oh, and he is Mikey from the Goonies. So yeah, man. I mean, I love this movie. It's definitely a childhood favorite of mine. Truffle Shuffle. But yeah, and then you got, Corey Feldman in there and things like that. So this is a phenomenal movie. Josh Brolin. Awesome film. Definitely, Spielberg's a great director, so he did not go wrong with this movie. Great. Definitely withstands the test of time. The Goonies. Alright, next up is we have, I would say, my only sci-fi movie on this list, and that is District 9. I love this movie. I've seen this a ton of times. It's just one of those movies where if it's on TV and you're flipping through the channels, you stop flipping the channels and you just watch it. You just have to watch it. I mean, Neil Blomkamp, first-time director, great film. The main actor is phenomenal. I love the take on, alien invasion, how that's done. You know what I mean? Usually it's alien invades, we fight back, all that good stuff. But this is totally different than that. So, great film. And I especially love the CGI effects. Especially when they're shooting the alien guns, the prawn guns, and they're just blowing people to bits. That's freaking awesome. I love that. But yeah, District 9. Alright, next up, I know I might get a little flack for this because I'm a bit of a Frank Miller fanboy, but it is 300. Really like this film. I think it's a good adaptation of the graphic novel. If you haven't read the graphic novel, you should do so sometime in your lifetime because it is great. I mean, Leonidas, you know what I mean? This put Leonidas on the map. This movie here put Leonidas, the character, the myth, on the map. You know what I mean? I know people who have named their children Leonidas after seeing this movie. So that's how much of an impact this movie has on popular culture. Great action scenes, great storyline, so superb abs. But yeah, definitely 300. Alright, next up is we have the Boondock Saints. I love this film. First time I saw it, I was totally hooked. I watched it again like 2 hours later because I couldn't stop thinking about it. That's how good I thought this movie was. Love this movie. It's got Daryl from The Walking Dead in it before he was Daryl. So yeah, man, awesome flick. I don't want to acknowledge that part, the second movie exists, but it does, sadly, and it was terrible. But yeah, this movie, I love it. The dialogue is great. I I mean, the action scenes are great. I think everything about this movie is really, really good. Honestly, I don't know what else to say about this movie. You know, once we get down to the nitty gritty, and we've talked about 15 other movies, we're kind of saying the same things all over again. But I love this movie. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. Boondock Saints. Next up is probably, well, my favorite movie in the horror comedy genre, and that is Shaun of the Dead. And I especially love this version of it, the steelbook, the Real Hero steelbook version of it. I love the cover art. The back art is, it's okay. But yeah, the movie is phenomenal. Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, great. I mean, you can really tell that they're best buds in real life. So it's cool, man. You can definitely see the chemistry on screen. So love this movie. Great film. I could watch it all day. Well, maybe not all day, but I could watch it more frequently than the other movies. So, Shaun of the Dead. Alright, next up is we have the only Tarantino movie on this list because I did not want to clog up the list with Tarantino movies, and that is Pulp Fiction. Love this movie. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis. I mean, it's got a great cast. You know what I mean? Love this movie. First time I saw this movie was not too long ago. I saw this movie like 2 or 3 years ago, and it blew my freaking mind. I was like, why did I wait so long to see this movie? It is great. I love this movie. I saw it, fell in love, and I rewatched it again the next day. I love this movie. Pulp Fiction. Tarantino's best in my opinion. So, yep. Alright, next up, I know for sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. Because I picked it over the Goonies, and that is the Monster Squad. I know, it's just a ripoff of the Goonies. No! Being a horror fan, I feel like this was the movie that got me, this was the gateway movie that got me into horror films. You know what I mean? As a kid, I was petrified of horror films. And I saw this film and I was like, horror movies are not that bad. Because, I mean, this one is really not a horror film. It's not a legit, you know, hardcore horror film. But as a kid, I love this movie. It was the Goonies meets monsters. Awesome. I freaking loved it, man. I mean, it's got Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the creature from the Black Lagoon. You know, it's got the Mummy. It's got the 5, you know, iconic monsters in this movie. And, you know, it's got a bunch of kids, you know, the Monster Squad doing their thing, trying to stop the end of the world. You know, it's awesome. The stakes are definitely higher here than they are in the Goonies. But I love this movie. I've watched it 3 or 4 times since I bought the Blu-ray. I mean, I bought it a long time ago, but I definitely love this movie, and I'll pick it every time over the Goonies. Just for the fact that it has the monsters in it. I love it. Alright, last but definitely not least, you've seen this movie in one of my other videos, Sin City. Love this freaking movie. I feel like it is the most, you know, loyal adaptation of a comic book movie that there is out right now. So if you haven't read the Sin City series, the Sin City graphic novel comic book series, definitely go check it out. You know what I mean? Because the source material for this film is phenomenal, and I think this movie is phenomenal. You know, I was super glad that they were I was super glad that they were able to faithfully adapt the comic book onto film. You know what I mean? It looks like the comic books. It feels like the comic books. I mean, it's great. I think all the actors fit their roles perfectly. I mean, it is a phenomenal film, in my opinion. And, you know, I love the comic books, so I definitely love this movie. I could watch this all day. I haven't opened it yet because, like I said, I've got a ton of movies that I want to watch first or watch again before I watch this movie, because I've owned this on DVD, and I watched this movie I don't know how many times on DVD. So I definitely, Sin City. If you have not seen this movie, you owe it to yourself to go check it out. Boom. Boom. But yeah, man, that's it. All done. My top 20 films. I know I said 17, but I'm a liar because I got 20 in there. So boom. Done deal. Those are my movies. But yeah, stay tuned. I got more stuff coming. Probably going to do a pickup vid. If not, I'll do something else. You know what I mean? So, like my video. Don't forget to like it. Thumb it up. Like my video. Comment below. Subscribe. Hit it. Hit that button. I'll give you 2 seconds. 1, 2. Okay, maybe a couple more. But hit that subscribe button. Yeah, man. And keep buying blues. Keep watching movies. And